Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and today, well, we're beginning term 2, right? So this is exciting because we're roughly a quarter of the way through the course. Hopefully by now you have some pretty good experience with making simple, small C# programs in Console. And this term is going to be focused on expanding that knowledge so we can create even more powerful programs that can do crazy, crazy stuff. So right now what we're going to do is, well, for the next 3 weeks, we're going to focus on a concept called loops. Now, loops are really, really important for programming because they allow us to control our program in really significant ways. And the loop we're going to focus on this week is called the while loop. And the way the while loop works is essentially it will run a section of code as long as a certain condition is met. So here's an example of a while loop. First, I need a variable. I'll just call it n, and I'll set it equal to 0. Okay, and then I'm going to create a while loop, and it's just created with this while keyword, right? While n equals 0, then we are going to run a specific section of code. And for us, it could be anything, honestly. So let's say console dot, oh, spelled console wrong, console dot write line. And I'm going to say n is 0. Okay. Now, if I left that by itself and I run this program, there will be no errors. It'll be fine. The problem is this program will never stop running, right? Because this loop has nothing, there's nothing inside this loop that will effectively change the way the loop works or move us away from this condition here. N will always be 0 forever. And we definitely don't want to leave n 0 because, again, if I run this, it'll just consistently print out n is 0, n is 0, n is 0, n is 0 over and over and over and over and over again. So what we want to do is we want to have something to break out of this loop. So I'm going to hit n plus plus, which is going to be, it's going to increment n up 1. So this will run one time and then it will stop running. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. And it's building, building, building. Okay, come on. It's not a lot of code, guys. It's only 4 lines of code that I've written. It doesn't need to take forever. There it is. All right, and it went away, obviously, because I forgot my README or my read line. So console.readLine. Okay, now let's run it again. Shouldn't take as long this time to build. Okay, n is 0, it says it once, and then it stops executing the loop. Now, what if we wanted to execute this loop for a certain amount of time? So let's say I wanted to count to 20 with this loop, right? Well, instead of n equals 0, it would be while n is less than 21. Oh, while n is less than 21. Okay, and then what I could do is instead of n is 0, I can say n is n. Okay, so now I can spit out all of the numbers from 0 to 20 with this loop, and I don't actually have to write 20 different statements, 20 different console write line statements. Now again, I don't want to get rid of this incrementer because, again, I don't want to create a loop that never breaks out. By the way, a loop that never has an escape clause or some way to break out of it is called an infinite loop. An infinite loop, and we want to avoid infinite loops as much as possible. So let's go ahead and run this program and see if it works exactly the way I expect it to. And it does, look at that. N is 0, N is 1, N is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 20. And it stops right when I tell it to stop, okay? So this is why while loops are helpful, right? We can list a bunch of things. We can, I mean, we can do all kinds of stuff with this, right? We can set a threshold, and we can set that to be 20, and we can then say thresh, and instead of less than, we'll say less than or equal to the thresh, and then we can run our code, and it should work exactly the same because we're using the variable as our threshold there, which means we can change the variable. We can set thresh to be equal to thresh equals 30, and then we can run the loop again. Yeah, I know, formatting selection, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Literally the same code here, and we can run it, and then we should have a list of 20 and then a list to 30. So we have a list, oh, I didn't tell it to wait. Console.read line, there we go. Okay, now we'll run it. Now we should have a list of 20, and then when we hit enter, we get a list of 30. Okay, not sure why there's space there, but anyway, so that's how while loops work, right? Basically, it just loops the same code over and over again until you meet a certain condition. So we can even do this with a switch, or with where we can even do this with variables where we give the user the ability to enter in some information. We could do something like console.writeLine. Do you like programming? And then we can have a variable called choice. String choice, and then that choice could be equals console.readLine. And then we can write a while loop that says while choice equals no console.writeLine. Try again. Choice equals console.readLine. Right, and so we could constantly run this. Let's see, console.readLine, so that we can stop. So this little piece of code here, this little application, will essentially just keep asking someone over and over again if they like programming, and if they don't like programming, then it'll keep making them try over and over again. So let's see if this works. Do you like programming? No. Try again. No. And then it stopped. That was weird. It stopped. So we can keep this loop going through. I think it's because I hit enter, and so it didn't equal no anymore. You know, that I definitely should write this a little bit better with better instructions for the user, but you get the idea. We can capture our user in a specific place and keep them from being able to expand past that place, and keep them from being able to escape past that place. And notice that I didn't explicitly set a condition for escaping. I'm giving the user the choice to escape from the loop. If they consistently keep typing no over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, then they'll stay in an infinite loop. But this technically isn't an infinite loop because they have the ability to write something else. Okay, so while loops are really, really fun. They're really helpful. You know, practice with them, play around with them, come up with any idea you think you could use a while loop for, and try those ideas. Try to do those. Try to implement them. Practice, practice, practice. Like I said, the assignment this week is going to be very, very, very simple. I just want you to expand your thinking into thinking about loops, because again, we're going to talk about other loops for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be digging real deeply into loops. I just wanted to give you a very easy kind of introduction into loops this week. So this video is done. That is it for this lesson. Hopefully you guys are, again, getting the hang of this stuff a little bit easier, or a little bit more, and hopefully it's becoming a little bit I don't know, easier to access this information. I know at first computer programming can be very, very complicated and very scary, but hopefully you guys have broken through that at least somewhat, and you now have a you're starting to get the light bulbs coming on a little bit more than it used to. So anyway, I'm rambling, and when I start rambling, that's when I know it's time to end the video. So I will stop talking now and let you get started. Thank you for paying attention, and I will see you next time.